another YouTube video. In today's video, like you've seen in the title, I'm going to be telling you 5 things you need to do once you get to the UK. These things I'm about to tell you are things that I did when I got to the UK, and doing them fast really went a long way. It helped me to get settled in very quickly. Now, before I tell you these 5 things you should do once you get here, I'm going to be telling you 2 things that you should do prior to getting to the UK. That means 2 things you should do before you get to the UK. The first one is pick up. How are you getting from the airport to where you are going to stay? If it's possible, try to be sure in details what you're going to do before you get here. Why? Because you're coming to a new country, you don't know your way around. Just saying you're going to pick a taxi is expensive, let's be frank. It's very expensive, and I would rather you, unless it's very expensive, but if this is something that you budgeted for, this is something that you have money kept down for, then no problem, go ahead and take a taxi. But if you don't want to spend that much money on a taxi, because honestly airport taxis are expensive, and you don't have friends or family to come pick you up from the airport, I would suggest you use the train. And you might be wondering, how do you do that? You don't know your way around. Google Map. Google Map is your savior, okay? Now everything is online, all right? You can find the postcode or the address of the airport on Google. You can also find the address or the postcode of where you're going to be staying on Google. All you do is you go to your Google Map, you put the address of the airport or the postcode of the airport, you put the address or the postcode of where you're going to. There's an arrow that tells you to pick a date and a time on Google Map. You can put the date you're going to be arriving and an estimate of the time that you're going to be getting there. When you do this, it's going to show you the various transport means to get from the airport to where you're going to be staying. This includes trains and buses. Now, if you can, I would advise you use this because it is cheaper. Of course, it also depends on the number of boxes, the number of things you're coming with. Alright, so these are things to consider as well. The second thing is where you're going to be staying for at least 3 to 4 months. Why am I saying this? A lot of people, when they come to the UK, they believe, okay, when I come, I'm going to stay here for like a week or 2, and that should give me enough time to find a permanent place. Don't do that. It's always advisable to, make reservations to find an apartment before you come to the UK. But I know that can be tricky. Why? Because you obviously want to see the place you're going to stay before you pay for it, so that number 1, you don't get scammed by scammers online, and so that you're sure that what you're paying for is what you really want. So you can have an estimate of how much you're going to spend, maybe in a hotel or in an Airbnb, something like that, for at least an average of a month, 2 months. That way, even if you don't find a house immediately, you're not stuck, you're not stranded. Obviously, this is for people that don't have family or friends in the UK that they can stay with while they make these decisions, okay? So having this down will make you not to be frustrated, it will make you not to be taken unawares by anything, because you can have plans and then when you come here, your plans change. You don't get an apartment as fast as you thought you will, because you're not seeing the ones you like or the ones in your budget. So have an amount you're planning to spend on an Airbnb or a hotel, something like that, for a month, 2 months, so that will give you enough time to settle down. So those are my 2 things I would advise you to do before you get to the UK. Now, what are the 5 things you should do when you get to the UK? The first one is to get your BRP. Your BRP is your ticket to staying in the UK. And while applying for your visa, you're going to get a notification. While applying for your visa, you're going to see a part that will tell you to choose a postcode close to your university where you can pick up your BRP. So it's always going to be in the post office. It's always going to be in the post office very close to your school. Go there and pick it up. That's the first thing, because without your BRP, you can't do anything in the UK. It's your identification, basically. When you first come, when you go there, they might tell you, oh, it's not ready this week. Come back the next week or come back in a couple of days. Keep going till you get your BRP. It usually doesn't take that much time to get. That was the first thing I did after I arrived to the UK. Number 2 is what you should be doing alongside getting your BRP. which is finishing your registration at school. Every school has a deadline of when you can be in school. Meaning, if you come to school after that deadline, your admission, let me not say it's cancelled, but it's like deferred. You defer your admission to the next semester or next session because you didn't meet up with the deadline. So don't say when you come, you do other things, you settle down first before going to finish your admission process or your registration process. Sorry, that's a better word. Finishing your registration process in school, no. So once you come, as you're getting your BRP, go to school and finish your registration process. This varies for different schools. For my school, we had to scan our passport again. We also had to sign some things, and then we got our student ID. So how you know that you've completed your student registration? They will give you your student ID, which is your identification means or identification method. So you need that. It's very important. It's very crucial. For a lot of people like my school, you can't come in without your ID because you need to scan it for the door to open for you. For other people, I know that in some other schools, you take your attendance with your student ID. That's how you take your attendance. So your student ID is very important. So when you get to school, you have to get there, you have to finish everything. Another reason why you need to finish your student registration when you get here is my point number 3 for your bank. Okay? Now, after you get here, you get after you get here and you have gotten your BRP and you finish your student registration, the next thing is to set up a bank account. It's very important. You don't have to wait till you finish your student registration before you open a physical bank. The reason why I use the word physical bank is because we have online banks that you can register or you can open with just your BRP. So after you come and you get your BRP, you can use your BRP and then you open one of these online banks. For me, I use Revolut. There are other ones as well. Just so you can have a way to pay for things, have money with you is really important. But in order to open a physical bank, you need to finish your school registration, because after you're done with your school registration, they will give you some letters that are very important. One of the letters they'll give you is a bank letter. The letter that you show the bank in case they want to know your position in the UK, they want to know your status. You feel like you're a student. That letter is from the school indicating that you're allowed to open a bank. And then you get your term letter. This term letter indicates all your holidays, like all the holidays you have in the UK and all the time you'll be in school. Now this is very important because when you get a job, right, during school times or school season or school terms or school term time, whichever one you want to call it, you work 20 hours in the country. Okay, you're allowed to work 20 hours as a student in the country. And then during non-term time, that during holiday times like summer, like Easter, Christmas, summertime, you're allowed to work full time. So you show that letter to your work people and then they will be able to allow you to work more than 20 hours or pay you more than 20 hours, okay, through something called an NI, which brings me to my point, NI. Okay, so an NI is the next thing that you do after you come into the country and you've gotten your BRP, you've done your registration in school and you've opened a bank. The next thing you do is NI. What is NI? NI is national insurance. Okay, you do this by going to the government site or just googling how to open an NI or how to get an NI on Google, and to bring out the websites, the UKVI, the UK government sites, and you follow the process and you apply for it. This NI is how you're going to get paid. They will pay you through this national insurance. Okay, now I'm paying through this national insurance. As a student, you're not going to be taxed because you're a student. If you're not, you're going to pay taxes here and there for things depending on the type of visa or the type of permit you have in the country. Now the thing about the NI is you need to have an address, which is why it's better to get an accommodation as soon as possible so that you can apply for it, because they will send it to you via mail. The mailing system in the UK is serious. It works. So they send you everything through your mail. Okay, so if you haven't found a permanent place where maybe you're staying with family, you can put your address as the NI, and then you get your insurance and then use it to get a job. I think mine took 3 weeks to a month before I got it. So you see why you need to do it as soon as you can, because the sooner you do it, the sooner you get your NI and then you apply for jobs. While in the process of getting a job, right, before your NI arrives, you can tell them that you have applied for your NI but you haven't gotten it yet. They will still be fine with it. They will still employ you, especially because of your BRP, or your companies can help you to generate a temporary code, I can't remember what it's called, that you can be using until your NI arrives. Okay. Point number 5, my final point, is getting a job. Now, of course, this depends on the individual. If you don't need to get a job, or if you don't want to get a job, it's fine by you. That's completely fine by you. But if you know that you want to get a job, you should start looking for one as soon as possible. So again, when you come to a country, you get your BRP, you finish your registration with school. After finishing your registration with school and getting your school ID, you get your bank letter so that you can open a physical bank. But while getting a physical bank, you can open an online bank. And then while doing the banking process, you apply for your NI, which is very important. And then after getting your NI, or while applying for your NI, or while waiting for your NI to arrive, you can start looking for a job. This is, now of course, this depends on you. If you need it, if you don't, that's completely fine. All right. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into the whole job process just because it's a lot. In fact, that will be my next video, where you can apply for jobs, sponsored jobs, non-sponsored jobs, the websites, the apps. I'm going to do that in my next video. But I hope you found these tips very important, very necessary. If you do these things, your stay in the UK should get smoother. The truth is, it's never easy adjusting when you just move to a new place, a new country. So these things should make things easier for you. If you do have more questions for me about any of these things, or even things I didn't mention, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to answer your questions. That's it for this video. See you in my next one and have a nice day.